Happy birthday to His Majesty the King, King Charles III. I don't know, Pete, it's not really...
it's not his birthday.
It's not his birthday. It's the day that is allocated to the celebration for the King. So happy birthday, Your Majesty. I'm Jeremy Cordeux. Peter Clayton's behind the camera. The Court of Public Opinion is in session. We do hope you had a nice weekend. June 12, some birthdays and then some observations, some stuff. June 12, 1902, Australian Parliament agrees to Commonwealth Franchise Act, which basically meant women were allowed to vote. Women were allowed to vote. Female suffrage. That was in 1902. The Constitution was signed here in Adelaide in Chesser Street. I've mentioned it before, lovely old table. It's still there, I think, in what was Chesser Cellars. It was a restaurant, and Primo Kayon, who had it for years and years and years, lovely restaurant, famous for its buffet. Anyway, I don't know where Primo is these days, but he was a great restaurateur, and there are not many of them left, if any of them are left in Adelaide. I don't know. World is changing too quickly. 1924, George H.W. Bush, the 41st US President. 89 to 93, and the 43rd US Vice President. 81 to 89, born in Milton, Massachusetts. He died in 2018. Caroline, lovely Caroline, and her dad, Andrew Peacock, attended his inauguration in 1989, but he was born this day in 1924. 2003, Gregory Peck, American actor, To Kill a Mockingbird, Roman Holiday, Guns of Navarone. He played MacArthur. You know, I Will Return, that MacArthur. He dies of bronchial pneumonia at 87. The year was 2003. 1948, in his farewell Ashes tour, this is one for you, Pete. Australian cricket batting maestro Don Bradman records or scores 138 in the first test against England at Trent Bridge. 1948. Harry Houdini frees himself from a straitjacket while suspended upside down 40 feet above the ground in New York City in 1923. You could have made that a lot more interesting by doing it over a big tub of chocolate at the M&M factory. yeah. I'm being mischievous. Jim Nabors, American comedian, actor, Gomer Pyle, US MC, and singer. He had a great voice too. A very good singer. Gomer Pyle, or Jim Nabors, was born in Indiana. He died in 2017, but born 1930. New Amsterdam legally becomes an English colony and renamed New York after the English Duke of York, and England installs a municipal government in New York City. There was a song, wasn't there? Even old New York was once New Amsterdam. 1665. Boris Yeltsin wins the first presidential election in Russia with a 57% vote in his favour. 1991, Al Capone is indicted on 5,000 counts of prohibition and perjury. 1931, but they got him for tax evasion. And 1964, Nelson Mandela is sentenced to life imprisonment in South Africa. Just showing you how fortunes can indeed turn. One more. Russia passes a law banning gay propaganda. 2013. The Lusitania crosses the Atlantic in a record 4 days, 17 hours in 1908. Anyway, if you remember the day for any reason at all, I hope it's been a great day. Or it is going to be a great day. I saw the Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, a few days back when he was in Vietnam. When I say I saw him, the television reports of his visit. I couldn't believe when I heard that he had given $100 million to help them combat climate change. What? What are you going to do with $100 million that is going to change the climate, which inextricably, inevitably changes all the time, slowly moving to what we do not know, but it's changing and you can't stop it with money. But I suspect that the North Vietnamese are not interested in climate change. They're interested in prosperity, cheap electricity, employment and productivity, like all good communists. Oh dear, what are we going to do with Albo? We got this same job, same pay thing going on at the moment, which I think, and I've always thought, I can't remember, I used to talk about this back at 2GB when I was a kid. It's been going on and on and on forever. Why would anyone think it reasonable to pay women less than men to do the same job? Never should have been allowed, but it continued and continued, and now we're doing something about it. Terrific. Same job, same pay seems reasonable to me. But maybe a better way of doing it would be to say, regardless of sex or age, it is simply experience and effort and ingenuity you are paying for, and the boss gets to judge. Same job, same pay. That's fine. I understand that it may be that one person comes along and he's got 60 years of experience and the other person has 6 months experience. That has got to be taken into consideration. Surely. I mean, that's reasonable. What are they stuffing around for? Because the employers all have banded together and they've put together a multi-million-dollar advertising campaign to challenge what is being said, to point out the bleeding obvious. Now, governments and trade unions and others can't be that stupid. And listen, I was listening to Bill Shorten the other day. Bill Shorten was confronted with the news of twin pricing deals. Twin pricing deals with the NDIS. He's the minister for the NDIS. You know, that's you know what that is, don't you? That's where there's one price for you and me. Then we have, as we have previously discussed in the Court of Public Opinion, if it's the NDIS or the government involved, there is a much greater price. Because, well, it's the government that's paying. No one's really paying. Well, it isn't, of course, the government, it's us. We are paying. We're all paying. But I loved Bill Shorten's comment. And it was, we have known about this for some time. And he says, we will do something about it sooner rather than later. Sooner rather than later. Really, Bill? The NDIS is totally out of control, heading towards bankrupting the country, and you're going to do something about a major cause of the billion-dollar blowout sooner rather than later? Amazing. Why in heaven's name didn't these people have the smarts to see this coming a mile off? Pete, I'm going to blow a fluffer valve one of these days. I don't know. The Adelaide Central Market redevelopment. It's going to be huge. Huge. And this, I wonder if they walked around Adelaide and noticed a lot of the buildings, the office buildings, office towers that are empty. Anyway, more office space coming our way. But what they're going to include is child care facilities. I pricked my ears up when I heard that. This is so people can come to work and drop their children off. I'm sorry. that is something for which the developers or the taxpayer really isn't responsible. If we choose to have children, we're responsible for them. We shouldn't have to have them looked after. I don't get that. I can't see why you'd come into this world with that sort of expectation. And here's another one that really confounds me. Within 7 years, the batteries in electric cars are going to become an environmental issue. There are now more than 100,000 EVs on our road, 100,000 used batteries in the environment, and no thought of what to do with them. That is amazing. But it's nowhere in the media because it doesn't fit the narrative, does it? Chinese cameras from around defence installations and Parliament House will be removed by the end of the month, they tell me. But how is it that it is only now that we've decided that this is a problem? Oh well, 3 cheers for ASIO, I suppose. But I really wonder whether they're going to be able to find a manufacturer other than a Chinese company that makes these surveillance cameras, CCTV cameras, at a price that can be afforded. It'll be interesting. Of course, there's no reason in the world why we can't make them ourselves, except we exported all that kind of industry and intelligence. I saw that Al Pacino, how old do you reckon Al Pacino is, Pete?
In his 80s?
Yeah, he's 83. 83. He's just become a dad for I don't know how many times. He's got 7 or 8 kids, I think. Al Pacino, 83. A new dad. I love it. Wonderful. Congratulations, Al. Keep it up, if you'll forgive the expression. Now, I've got no desire to put people out of work when I tell you this story or this opinion that I have on the subject. But TV stations, their news services, I think that a television station, its cornerstone is its news service. Everything goes good or bad from the news service. Now, they seem to insist that there have to be 2 presenters at the news desk. I was watching Channel 9 News the other night. I tend to flick around. There, you've usually got 2 people, but the night I was watching, the night I'm talking about, Kate Collins, she was the lady, she was the only one of the 2 who was there, and terrific, all by herself. Now, unless I get accused of hypocrisy, for some years, yes, I did the 6 o'clock news on Channel 7 with Graham Goodings, but I said then, as I say now, that you do not need 2 readers. Really doesn't make any sense to have a tag team. Just makes for extra cost and confusion. And when you think back over some of the great news services and news readers, Kevin Crease, John Doherty, Brian Henderson, and of course Melbourne and Brisbane and Perth had their famous newsreaders as well. Always a single act. But while we're on the subject of news services, another thing I noticed was the finance report. The finance report. Given scant attention, in fact a fraction of a second is what they seem to devote to the subject, it takes time to digest a screen full of information. Is it just a token? It's less than useless if you just whip it on and whip it off and say, we've done finance. Then, well, no, you haven't. You haven't done finance. Speaking of television, the Channel 10 programme, The First Inventors, is being promoted big time. Billed as, I hope I get this right, a groundbreaking new series. Straight-faced. They are rewriting history, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking to you about I was talking to you about it the other day. It's about the Aboriginals discovering the New World. 60,000 years, yes. But how do we know? Unlike the Greeks and the Romans and other civilizations, some of them go back to before the birth of Christ, obviously. But there were the Aboriginals. But no records. Well, rock paintings, maybe, I guess, but no files, no history, nothing chipped into stone, I don't think. Upon what would the producers of this show base the series, make a documentary? Now, you must have documents to make a documentary. They say Aboriginals understood science, astronomy, the telescope, a sophisticated, robust civilization, irrigation. They led the world. The program is called The First Inventors. Really? Flight? Science? Algebra? Advanced mathematics? Construction? Engineering? Please, what are you saying? Just recognize these people for what they are, a beautiful, simple, tribal folk. Beautiful, simple, tribal folk, for whom clan, country, and family are all important. No written language, no money, no science, folk medicine, and a lot of mystical stuff, which I don't understand, but I respect. But the real story, I don't know. It's not a documentary. That's all I'm saying. And I mean no malice in saying that. It's a fantasy. I really don't understand it. A call for people to stay to work or stay at work till they're 70. I totally agree with that. With life expectancies today, God knows, why should we stop work at 70? It's only reasonable. We can't afford to have people with great experience out to pasture too early, can we? It's not good for the individual, it's not good for the economy, it's not good for society. And if we don't do it, of course, we've just got to get rid of the ageism, which is one of the prejudices that people don't talk a lot about. One out of left field, which I might leave you with, hoodies. Hoodies. You hear all sorts of things in the court of public opinion. But it's a funny one, this. Every police pin-up, line-up, police search, Crime Stoppers story seems to involve somebody wearing a black hoodie. Maybe we would really be smart to get ahead of the curve and make sure that anyone who buys from any store a black hoodie has to give some ID, or maybe they should come up with a little tracking device. For God's sake, don't put me in charge. Maybe get a little piece of DNA before they leave the shop. Because it seems that all criminals, particularly in the smash and grab world, the choice of garment is the black hoodie. So let's get them before they start their life of crime. Now, I'm not saying that everyone who wears a black hoodie is a criminal, but every criminal seems to have a black hoodie. Which is a little bit like tattoos. Oh dear, I don't know. I don't know. I think we might leave it there. We'll see you tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jeremy Cordeux. Peter and I will be back. Believe in yourself. Thank you for viewing the Court of Public Opinion. Bless your heart. Bye.